It's amazing how much disdain he has, by the way, for Jewish people in Israel, right? Like, just you can hear it there in his voice.
His
This
strategy is
Israel
simple:
stuff.
attack Israel, attack the Jews. Like that is his strategy. And you know what? In Dearborn, the same people who, as he put it, are, quote, sad that the Ayatollah who chanted death to America is no longer able to pay terrorists to kill Americans. Those are the same people that when you attack Israel and attack Jews, they get excited and vote for you. And you know what's really terrifying? That may be a winning strategy in a Democrat primary in Michigan. It obviously was a winning strategy in a Democrat primary in New York City.
I am really concerned about what we're seeing in New York.
Yes.
You and I have talked about this. Mamdani, I think, is a bigger threat to this country than just a threat to the people in New York City. Let's talk about the breaking news there as well.
Yeah, very much agree. Give a listen to what Mamdani had to say about the war in Iran and about the Ayatollah in particular. Give a listen.
I think we're seeing the fact that in the face of Americans facing a historic affordability crisis, that we have the pursuit of something that has already cost $23 billion thus far, the kind of money that could transform working class Americans' lives, whether through investments in Medicare or teachers or even elimination of student debt for tens of thousands of Americans, and all of that being thrown aside for the pursuit of yet another regime change war. And it's a war that should be opposed on every single ground, not just procedural, but also moral, but also political. And also a war that should be opposed on the grounds of the fact that it is being financed by the very money that could make it easier to keep calling this city, this country home. And yet there is a blindness to that fact, all while we're being told that this is not what we're seeing with our own eyes.
All right, Senator, let's just go to the moral spot there. When he said that, I'm like, what world is he living in? Morally, then explain the terrorism, Hezbollah, Hamas, and all the other sponsors of terrorism, all the dead bodies, and all the Americans have been killed by Iran. He says there's no moral compass for this war to even begin with. I would say sit down with families who've lost loved ones and are placing, flowers at tombstones on Memorial Day and tell them this political garbage.
Look, Iran has killed nearly 1,000 Americans over the last 47 years. They're the number one state funder of terrorism in the world. They provide 90% of the funding for Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. They hired hitmen to kill President Trump. And the Ayatollah, who Mamdani is grieving right there, regularly would lead mobs chanting death to America. And yet Mamdani's loyalties, apparently death to America is not a sentiment that has significant disagreement with. He thinks it is immoral. He thinks it is wrong. It should be opposed on every front, taking out a regime that is killing Americans. Look, this is the heart of today's Democrat Party. Mamdani and AOC and Ilhan Omar, the radical Marxist, Islamist, jihadist, America-hating commie left. By the way, I love that he begins with $23 billion. Can you believe they spent that much? Never in his life has Mamdani seen government spending that he opposes, except if it's taking out an Islamist leader who is murdering Americans. That's the one instance in which government spending he is opposed to. In every other instance,
and
this
by the
man...
way, how much of the government spending in New York City was for illegal immigrants that they were housing in 4-star and 5-star and 3-star hotels? Like, can we just remember, like, how much money they've wasted that, by the way, could have gone to the people of New York that are suffering? Instead, they said, no, we want to pay out billions to illegal immigrants and make their lives more comfortable after they broke our laws.
Well, and we played a couple of weeks ago on Verdict, Kathy Hochul, the New York governor, pleading with rich New Yorkers who had fled the state.
Yeah.
Please come back to New York, but not promising to make it any better. Say, we want to tax the hell out of you. We want to take your money, but we have really lavish social spending programs. And if you don't come back, we won't have the money to pay for them. And it really is funny. I'm trying to figure out who is the one rich guy who fled New York and hears, hey, come back so we can take your money and give it away because we know what to do with it better than you. Who's the one audience member who hears that? I don't know, but Mamdani isn't even saying that. He's happy for them to flee his city. Look, I fear with this kind of environment, number one, I fear for the NYPD, their ability to do their job with a mayor who now opposes their enforcing the law and protecting New Yorkers. But number two, his coddling, his embrace of Islamist America haters is not good. New York suffered the very worst terror attack our country's ever seen on 9/11. D.C. did as well. But having a mayor who is now rooting for the death to America crowd, that is a deeply concerning development.
Yeah, and by the way, if you think Mamdani's like a one-off, you're wrong. And if you want proof of it and how concerned you should all be over these types of individuals, let's take a look at the Michigan Senate candidate that avoids discussing Iran because, quote, there's a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad that we took out the Ayatollah. Like, this is not just Mamdani, folks. This is the Democratic Party growing very quickly in this.
Yeah, look. Some listeners, particularly listeners who are skeptical when I said Mamdani was sad the Ayatollah was killed, might have said, gosh, that's too harsh. He's not really that's putting too much. Mamdani is part of a broader movement of America-hating Islamists who are taking over the Democrat Party. And in Michigan, you've got a candidate for U.S. Senate, a guy named Abdul El Sayed. And interestingly enough, he was caught on tape strategizing what to say about the Iran war. And I'll tell you what, how about I don't put words in his mouth, Ben doesn't put words in his mouth. Let's listen to the words that came out of his own mouth. Give a listen.
And this is going to destabilize reason. I also want to remind you guys that there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today. Mm-hmm. So, I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all. I don't think it's worth even touching that.
Doesn't even want to touch this butcher and killer and murder of Americans because there's a lot of people that he wants to vote for him in Dearborn that are sad today.
And by the way, you hear his staffers, oh yeah. I mean, they all know that. This is no secret. Why are the people in Dearborn sad? They're sad for the same reason Mamdani is sad, because far too many of them are Islamists who cheer for the Islamists who want to kill Americans. And this Michigan Senate candidate, talk about cynical. Listen to his strategy. Rather than talk about U.S. national security, rather than talk about killing terrorists, rather than talk about keeping America safe, what do you think he wants to do instead? Well, again, don't take my word for it. Give a listen to his strategy rather than address U.S. national security.
And I'm just going to go straight at pedophilia, frankly. As a pedophile president, Prime decides that he doesn't like the front page news. So he decides to take us into another war. There was a time when you all were talking about America first. This seems to be America last.
There it is. We're just going to make up stuff, lie about the president, and do this. And that'll be our pivot from us actually having to talk about what's happening in Iran, because I don't want to upset the Islamists that support the Ayatollah.
By the way, quick question. What painting did Jeffrey Epstein have hanging in his living room in New York City?
It was Bill Clinton in a blue dress. Isn't that right?
And red pumps. He literally had a painting of Bill Clinton on his wall. He was an original friend of Bill. Bill Clinton practically had his own seat on the Lolita Express. And yet the Democrats just scream, okay, let's just call Trump a pedophile. It's pure, but the cynicism of it is only works because the media is corrupt. Listen to what else this Democrat Senate candidate had to say.
We have the moral high ground here. I think the more we stay out of, they're going to try and bait us into saying, yeah, but isn't it justified now that they took him out?
Right.
And I just think
that's what we need to prep for.
We got to prep for it. We got to prep for taking out a murderous terrorist in Iran that says he wants to blow up and kill innocent Americans, who already has, and Israel. And they're like, we got to prep for this, guys. This is a big PR nightmare for us. What are we going to do now?
Well, there is one other Democrat strategy. One, they scream pedophile and attack Trump. But there's a second Democrat strategy, because if they don't want to actually talk about protecting America and killing terrorists, what they do instead is their old refuge. Well, again, listen rather than let me characterize.
I mean, that talking about doing this and Israel's issue always just makes me a little nervous.
I figured as much. I can shade away from it, but if I'm going to take the shot, I can't just allude to it. I got to take the whole shot, which means that I'm going to say, look, you've got AIPAC-backed congresspeople who now don't want to empower Congress to step up and enforce its own prerogative. Ask yourself who that benefits and why. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself how powerful that force is in our politics if they won't even stand up to a president who's making illegal and unjustified war.
Making illegal war in order to distract us,
Yeah, I think it's that shot is fine. I just think that it should always be coupled with the affordability argument. Like, I think the danger here is just getting too caught up in the like high level politics of it and not spending enough time with how it.
The people in Michigan. Okay. This is going to come up with what's her name with Welch.
Yes, it will.
She's going to be hot on this, and she's going to bait me into the Israel stuff. And if I'm going to take the shot, I got to set up the whole shot. That's the thing. You know what I mean? She's like, look, I'm running against an AIPAC-backed Democratic congresswoman, and you know what her statement was? We're perfectly okay with this war. He just should have asked us first.
It's amazing how much disdain he has, by the way, for Jewish people in Israel, right? Like, just you can hear it there in his voice.
His strategy is simple: attack Israel, attack the Jews. Like that is his strategy. And you know what? In Dearborn, the same people who, as he put it, are, quote, sad that the Ayatollah who chanted death to America is no longer able to pay terrorists to kill Americans. Those are the same people that when you attack Israel and attack Jews, they get excited and vote for you. And you know what's really terrifying? That may be a winning strategy in a Democrat primary in Michigan. It obviously was a winning strategy in a Democrat primary in New York City. It was a winning strategy for Ilhan Omar. It was a winning strategy for AOC. It was a winning strategy for Rashida Tlaib. This is the base of the Democrat Party. And if you have any serious question about how do you protect America against radical Islamic terrorists who want to kill us, like the Hezbollah terrorist in Michigan that we started this podcast talking about, today's Democrat Party has nothing to say about it.
Nothing.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this: you can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.